Okay, and we are live. Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeCharis, CPA extraordinaire, coming to you live from downtown Bethpage, New York. I'm not in Flushing anymore. If you didn't notice, I moved closer to my kids, so everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences, and that's why we have Renee Reisch. Right?
Reisch.
Reisch. Okay. You know, people butcher my name when they introduce me. So it's hard. Reisch. Reisch.
You
Like
got it.
rice, only Reisch. What is that? Is that German?
I think it's an Austrian. I believe it
Oh,
is.
Austrian. Okay.
It's an
That's
Austrian
cool.
background. Yeah,
Yeah.
Austrian.
Nice.
Austrian name.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Eastern
I
Europe, Eastern European.
yeah. So you look fabulous.
Thank you.
Did you get all dolled up for this podcast?
Just for you, Joe, and your audience.
You know, I don't think people can actually see you on the podcast. I'll see you on the YouTube channel because we're going to upload this. I know it's going to be fun and exciting. You have a pretty interesting story. You know, I usually don't go back and look at who I'm talking to. We just meet on the podcast and we have but I read a little bit about your background, and I said this is going to be interesting. And you know, so thank God that you could actually talk now, right?
Yeah,
Because
totally.
what I got from it at one point, you couldn't speak.
Correct. Yeah, correct. I was. I had a virus that attacked my vocal cords in 2013 while I was in corporate America. So that was, of all times, that's a tough time to have that happen. And it took away my voice. So it
For
was
how
very,
long?
as I start coughing, right?
That's
about,
okay.
about 4 months. Hold on a second. Yeah, about 4 months. I was out of sorts from my corporate job. So it was very contagious. It was pre-COVID, obviously 2013, but I was so contagious that I wasn't allowed to be with the public. So it
Wow.
was a really
So
difficult time.
for 4 months you couldn't speak.
For 4 months, I was quarantined from the public. I mean, no contact,
Wow.
not just no voice,
That,
no contact.
oh my God.
That-
So there's like retreats and stuff. I've heard about it before, but this weekend something popped up again about like these retreats. They call them like silent. You go for 3 days and you don't say a word. I don't know, but it's supposed to be like a whole spiritual experience. I don't know. Did you have that? Like what was going through your mind?
So, okay, let me back up a little bit. I wasn't spiritual at the time. I was not on this spiritual path or journey. So I was just working corporate America. I was managing multi-million dollar teams, but I wasn't able to manage me. And I didn't realize that. Hindsight, with or without these glasses I'm wearing is 2020, and I definitely was not even close. So I was running through life. I was never being, I was in the doing mode, constantly doing and doing for others. Not only doing, but never even focusing on me, focusing on everybody outside of me to make sure everybody else was okay, except the person I needed to attend to most, which was me. And in so doing, literally doing, I lost my ability to speak. My vocal cords were riddled with sores that were pain that I've never felt in my life. It was, God, I don't know. The only description, with me clearing my throat as I'm talking about this, the only description I can kind of equate it to is if what I would think steak knives or razor blades might feel like. I've never tested that out and I'm not planning on it.
Yeah.
But that in looking at what they look like, I'm equating it to what the feeling inside of my throat was. It was on fire 24/7. And I did not know how to fix it. It wasn't like gargle with salt water, take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. It was a viral infection similar to COVID in the sense of me being quarantined and not being allowed to be with the public. And if I were to go out, I had to wear a mask. It was all this pre stuff before any of this was now we're in this part of
Okay.
the interview in this world going through this, but it was really an interesting time because anybody who knows me knows I'm a connector and I love people. I mean, I always say like people are to me like water to a plant. You can't survive without it. Well, I just love connecting. And I wasn't able to do that.
Hmm.
And it wasn't like, meet on Zoom or anything. There wasn't Zooming at that time. I wasn't really aware of anything like that. So it was really, I was sitting in my own muck, for lack of a better term. It was pure hell.
For
Um,
4 months.
4 straight months, like morning, noon, and night. It wasn't like, when I go in different interviews, it wasn't like any part of the day was better. Like a lot of times when you have a cold or a sinus infection, at night and the morning are the worst because you're laying down and it's kind of draining, and that's
Right, right.
the worst part. And the afternoon, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit better. In this case, because it wasn't any of those things, it was a 24/7 feeling that I was experiencing in my body and specifically in my throat. And I went into a deep depression because I wasn't connecting with anybody and I wasn't even connecting with myself. I think that's what this was supposed to teach me, to connect with you. And again, it wasn't spiritual at the time. So I didn't think of, oh, what is the lesson in there? Let me do some inner work. Let me go with it. And there was nothing of the sorts. I was just like, holy crap, I'm in
So,
hell, and I don't know how to get out of it. And I'm not getting any help to get out of it because I didn't even know who to go to. My doctors couldn't help. It wasn't a medical thing. I think it was an emotional experience that manifested in my health that I was unaware of. I believe, what we go through, we grow through. And in my journey, I didn't even know this is part of my journey. As I said, I wasn't in that space at the time. I was just running around, in corporate America and making sure everybody was taken care of. But I was
so,
falling by the wayside.
so when did it start turning around,
Mm, let me,
and
so
and what made it happen?
yeah, great question. So I was sent to a specialist, and I'll talk about it in a second. I ended up writing a book from this experience. And it was, one of the things I put a little humor in the book, although what took place wasn't humorous. I tried to add some humor into my life when I can. Uh, it was like I was sent to this specialist, and they put my vocal cords on a screen. And in the book I wrote, that's not exactly how I ever anticipated getting to the big screen. But there was part of me on the big screen. It was my vocal cords. And so I saw myself on the big screen in the specialist's office. And there were these two doctors in white coats putting these tubes down my throat, which was not fun in and of itself. But it was to see if they felt there was going to be permanent damage from all the sores that attacked my cords. And they said it didn't appear that there would be, because they thought maybe scar tissue and whatever was going on in there, because it was such a prolonged time that I hadn't used them and it wasn't getting better. So they said it does not appear that there will be permanent damage. From that minute, I was like, oh my God, I can do this. I can heal. I can get
Okay.
better. And I was sent to a vocal coach after I wasn't no longer in the contagious mode. Obviously, I wasn't going to be going out because I wasn't allowed out, as I said. But
Right.
when I was past that piece of it, and I was allowed, I started going to a vocal coach. And just like our muscles, Joe, like when you don't use them, what happens? Here it is. It atrophies, right? I got some muscle here now, but they atrophy. They're not used. Your vocal cords, they're a muscle. And when they're
Wow.
not in use, they will atrophy. In mine, in fact, that happened. So I went to the vocal coach, and her name was Michelle. I will never forget that. She was such a beautiful angel and a soul. My doctor, whose care I was under, suggested her. And I had to go through intense vocal coaching to regain the use of my voice. And it is an instrument, it is a vibration. And I didn't take care of it.
Hmm.
So I needed to
In-
rework that melody.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, so life is a lot different now because now you are empowering women, right? You're teaching women how to get their voice.
I do, yes.
And so how did that come about? Because you went from like I can't even imagine what that must feel like. You know, I'm the same way. I need to be around people. Uh, thank God for Zoom. I have more friends in the world now than ever. I still like to meet them, like one on one, but being sequestered and not being able to talk to people, I can't imagine what that must have felt like. But now you look happy, you look beautiful. So something, tell us what happened. Like, were there stages? Uh, how did you decide that you want to start helping women?
So first of all, I'm going to backtrack for a minute. I'm very similar to you. I'm an East Coast girl. I'm from from New Jersey.
How do you
And
know I'm
so
from the East Coast?
just say boo and I'll know. Hear the
Okay.
accent. It takes one to know one, darling. I could tell. So it was really interesting. And people tell me they could hear my accent immediately too. So, it's who we are. Um, it was really the blessing of having my best friend in my life, having she's now my angel with my dad up in heaven, and having someone who really believes in you when you don't always believe in you, having someone like her. She came over with a mask. I kept a kosher home at the time, and she would make chicken in her home, and the right utensils, everything where she needed to cook it in, to make sure it was right for me, and that I would get protein in my body, because she knew I wasn't able to eat or drink. I couldn't even swallow my own saliva. I would literally,
Oh wow, I didn't even think of that.
yeah, I wasn't eating, was not a fun experience. It was something that I avoided at all costs because it was so painful. When you can't swallow your own saliva, you don't say, it wasn't even like having tea and honey. It's not, it was, you can't swallow, you can't swallow. It doesn't matter what it
Yeah.
is.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very intense. Like I'm watching you take a drink right now. It's like, that was a painful experience. It's almost like you don't know how many times a day you blink until you can't.
Oh
Let me
man.
tell you, Joe, you have no idea how many times a day you swallow until you can't. You don't think about it, right?
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't want you to
I'm gonna
know.
start counting now. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you're unaware of it. It's an automatic response. You swallow, you blink. You don't know you're doing it until you're aware. You're consciously aware that you
It's like
can't.
your heart. It's like your heart. You don't know how many times. But if it stops you, you're
You're well aware that you're having an issue, right? So I was well aware there was an issue. It
yeah.
started out as one sore in my throat. I remember going to urgent care. I was working a late shift at my corporate job and I felt like there wasn't something that was right, and it ended up, like I wrote in the book, giving birth to so many sores, and it
So
took over my vocal cords.
what's the name of your book and how do people get it?
It is called Finding Your Voice, Unlock Your Chains, and Unleash Your Greatness. Because the chains I was bound up in, Joe, like I believe many are when they go through something like this. And it doesn't have to be a physical thing like I went through. I'm not saying you have to go through that, but we go through different things in life. But the chains I was bound up in were my own chains. And I believe we do that to ourselves so many times from situations that take place and we just get stuck. And also the subtitle, unlock your chains and unleash your greatness. It's also what I have within me that I'm doing now is to unleash my greatness amongst others that feel that they are stuck, who feel like they, can't move forward, who have things that are going on in their life. They don't have to have lost their voice in the manner in which I did. Maybe they lost their voice in their job. Maybe they lost their voice in their marriage or their relationship, or they're not believing themselves. I believe the loss of my voice in my life, like I was saying earlier, it manifested physically in my health due to my own limiting beliefs. The fear of judgment, people pleasing, never feeling like I was ever enough or would ever be enough. And like the more I did, it was like I just felt like this was not enough because of things that were said and done. And I felt like, I had to always keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I almost pushed myself 6 feet under,
Yeah.
because it was such a devastating illness to not only not have a voice, but to have the pain associated with it and not, to be sequestered from the public for so long. And I didn't even know how long it would be. Like this to me could have been a life sentence. I didn't know if I would ever speak again. I didn't know if that pain, that intense pain would ever go away. It wasn't like, well, I know they said it would get better in a week, or there was no, they said anything. Doctors said they were
Wow.
unable to help me. There was
So
no light there.
I think so. You had a physical thing happen. I think most people have mental things that happen that
Well,
block them. That in a sense, they lose their voice. Uh,
absolutely. I agree with you. I think that is what happened. I think it was something that was going on, whether it's unconsciously or subconsciously, that, people want to be seen, heard, and felt. And I probably felt somewhere inside of me that I wasn't, because if I felt that I was never good enough, I felt that my voice didn't matter, I felt that all of those things, then the feeling became the emotion, became the feeling, became the behavior, became the manifestation of what I believe took place in my body. I wasn't really consciously aware of that. I was just going and running through my life, taking care of everybody, thinking I was, doing okay, and until I wasn't, right? We're fine until we're not. And my life came to a screeching halt. And thank God for my best friend. Thank God she was there to help me. And thank God for, I don't know if anybody's religious out there, but thank God for God. Thank God I had a higher power to believe in, and that, when God brings you to it and He brings you through it, there's a reason. And my reason is for everybody out there listening, saying, oh my God, I could so relate, whether they had the physical ailment or they just are in a place where they don't believe in themselves, or they don't feel enough, or they are a people pleaser and they look for outside validation to, know that they're enough. And, my best friend used to say, you don't need a piece of paper. She said, I never need a piece of paper. I know what I do. I know I'm good enough. I know everything I'm doing. And it's because I'm living my authentic self. And when you are that in that space, in that place, when you're not doing anything for anybody else, you're doing it for yourself. The cause and effect is, yes, you affect others in a positive way.
right.
And that's what I'm here to do. And I have a course that I take, women through. I'm sure if there's men out there who would like to reach out, I would love to support them too. But it's a voice blueprint that I created. So the V is vulnerability, the O is owning your voice, the I is, the inspiration and igniting that within, and the C is having that courage and that confidence, and the E is empowerment, and to take them through those stages in life. It's like I based on the butterfly effect. Like, you go from the crawling stage as a caterpillar to the chrysalis, that muck stage where it's the gooey, mucky stage in a chrysalis before the breakthrough to a butterfly where you're
Right.
free and you free yourself to be yourself.
So I like to keep these to between 15 and 20 minutes because people's attention span is just not. We don't pay attention that long anymore. So how do people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website. It's Renee Reisch, RENEEREIS, as in Sam, C, Charlie, H, Harry, Reisch.com. I'm also on all social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So I've got my business page, my personal page, and yeah, absolutely would love to
Okay.
connect and to join my course, join me on this journey. I would love that. The next one starts August 23rd, and it's a 6-week course. And then I also do one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching. So please reach out. And the book is found on my website as well as Amazon. So we'd love you to have that as part of your journey and to let me be there for you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Renee. You gave us a lot of great nuggets. It was more than what I expected.
Oh, thank you,
So,
Joe. Thank you for this
so
opportunity.
thank you. We will be chatting again soon. And also, I'd like to invite you to my mastermind. I almost forgot to mention this. We have mastermind with joedechara.com. It's there's no charge. Sometimes we ask for a donation. It's every Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and we would love to have you and have you
Um,
share your story
I would
with
be
us.
honored, Joe.
Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Renee.
Thank
That's
you.
our story, folks, and we're sticking with it. Over and out. God bless, and I will see you again tomorrow with another amazing episode of How to Win Big at Business.